Hi guys, my name is Richard and welcome to the RQ Studio. In this video, I'll be taking us through how to create a dashboard such as this, an election dashboard, making use of the simple image, custom visual, and the shape map custom visual. Okay, so let's dive right in. We are going to start by creating a new report. So I'm just going to go straight to get data to import the election data set, which I got from 3news.com. That is the election center, and I have to give shout outs to them because they did a very good job with the dashboard that they have. And so this election data set consists of the election history, the presidential election history from 1996 all the way to 2024. So our first step will be to import the data, the election data set, preview the table, and perform some transformations in Power Query where there is a need for it. So I'm just going to scroll through this. I'm going to change the year. Notice that the year is a number data type, so I'm just going to click on that and change it to text because we're not going to use the year for any form of aggregation computation. So I'll just replace current, and yeah, I think that's the only change we need to do in Power Query. So I'm just going to save that, and then we will jump straight into Power BI a visualization pane. So after closing and applying, the data set is going to load onto the data panel that is at the right hand side of the screen, and it will give us information on all the columns that exist in the data set. Fully loaded now. So once I click on the arrow that is beside the name of the table, I get to see all the columns that exist in the table. Another way of viewing the data in the table is to switch from the reports view to the table view. So once I click on that, I will have a view of what exists in the table that I have imported into Power BI. So we have the candidate names. So the candidate column has the candidate names. We have the percentages, the votes, regions, status, year, and then party, right? So first thing I want to do is to create a card visual to show total number of votes. So we have total number of votes there. So I'm just going to click on card. And then I'm going to drag or drop the votes column into that. So notice that under the visualization pane, there's a field section there which has add data field here. So I'm going to drag votes to the add data field, and it's going to populate in the card visual, right? So the total number of votes is 75 million votes. Now, for the dashboard, we need votes for the two parties. In this instance, that's the NDC and MPP. So I'm going to start creating DAX measures for NDC votes, NPP votes, the percentage of votes that are under the NDC, percentage of votes under NPP, are the most votes, and a winner KPI. So let's go into creating KPIs first, and then we'll divide the votes into the parties. Right, so I'm just going to right click on the table name, click on new measure, and then we'll start creating our first measure. So I'm going to delete what's in the box at the top of the screen and type in NDC votes, as this is what I want to name the measure I'm about to create. So I'm going to use the calculate function, which would sum up the votes column in that table, and it will be filtered according to region. Filtered according to party. So So I'm going to say where the party is equal to NDC. Note that because the nature of the data, the column is a text column, whatever you want to represent in that column must come in the inverted commas. And then close the bracket, press enter, or you can click on the correct sign, and note that we have created our first DAX measure, and which shows with a calculator icon beside it in the data pane, right? So we are going to be creating other measures, but I like to keep my measures in a folder. So in order to do that, so that it can be properly arranged, so I'm going to go to the model view and click on the table, and on the properties pane that you see on your right hand side, I'm going to click on the measure now and then scroll down to display folder and create a folder named DAX measures. So we press enter, and then the folder is automatically created where the measure you've created sits in it, right? So now we are going to go on to create measures by clicking on the DAX folder and creating new measure, such that every measure we create will sit in that folder on the right hand side, just for uniformity's sake. So I'm going to do the same thing for MPP. And there we have our second measure. So now we are going to create a third measure named NDC percentage. So NDC percentage is going to be equal to the NDC votes divided by the sum of the total votes. So the sum of the votes column. And then I'm going to do same for MPP. So notice that each time I type MPP, the measure I've created pops up, which makes it easy so that you don't have to recreate that calculation you've already done. It's now sitting as a variable, which you can call out for the further calculations you're doing in your measure. So that's how come it pops up. And that's one of the advantages of using Power BI, the DAX function. Great. So once you've created the measures that you want to see, or the measures I want to see, I'm going to go on to visualize them to ensure that it shows exactly what I needed to show. So we know that this is the total sum of votes. So I'm just going to copy this card visual and paste it. In order to work faster in Power BI, you can easily copy and paste visuals so that you don't have to recreate them, and every filter that you have done to that visual will apply. So in this instance, I'm going to change the field from votes to NDC votes. Great. So you notice the value is smaller and then the name shows up as NDC. I'm going to copy that and paste it. And change the field from NDC votes to NPP votes. Great. Now I'm going to paste another one and visualize the percentages for each of them. So this is going to change to NDC percentage. That's showing 0.49, and then the same for MPP. Same for the other party. Now I want the NDC percentages to actually show as a percentage. So I'm going to change the data type or the nature or format of the function from decimal to percentage. So you do that by clicking on the measure you've created. And you note that it takes you to this pane that has the measure tools. Here you can perform all the formatting you want to perform on the numbers, such as changing from adding a comma, increasing or decreasing the decimal places, adding a currency. But in this instance, I want to change the format to percentage. So I'm just going to click on that. And then we notice that for the MPP column stated, if I expand it, it shows as a percentage. So I'm going to do same for NDC. And that also shows as a percentage. Great. So now I don't want these values to be as big as they are. So I'm just going to go to the format your visual pane, go to call out value on the display and reduce the font size from 45 to, let's say, 20. Okay, great. So I now have that. I don't want to see the percentage at the bottom, so I'm going to switch off the category label, leave it at that. So let me just group NPP as one, shift it to one side. And the second party as one as well. Let me just narrow down the shape, leave it as one. And we're good. So now there are some other measures that we may need to create, and we will get into that as we go on. There's going to be a need for a winner. But then before that, let's create a table. So I want to create a table that shows a little bit about the data, so that we have more of a visual appearance of what we want, what the data looks like. So I just clicked on the table visual, and I'm going to drag some columns into that table. So I'll drag the candidate column, region, votes, and party. Great. So let's customize our table a little bit. Let's make it smaller. Let's change the format of this table. Let's change the style presets to, let's say, sparse, so it looks a little bit clean. Now the two parties have specific colors. The dominant color for the NDC party is green, and the dominant color for the MPP party is blue. And so I have some color codes which I'd like to use, and I'm going to change the column in this table known as party to include color for the two main parties, NDC and MPP. So let's go ahead and do that. So how to do that? We're going to click on the format visual, the first icon where you add the data field. Click on that column in particular. In this instance, it's called party. So when you click on the arrow right there, you see a list where there is conditional formatting. So I'm going to click on conditional formatting and ask you, do you want to work with the background color, the font color, the icon, or web URL? In this instance, the background color. And here there are some rules that you can use to apply formatting to your visual. So here it says the if value. If there's a text named NDC, then give it this color. So I want it to be green, but I have a specific color code, hex color code. So let me just pick that from my notepad. Green, right? And that's what I want to see. Then I'll add another rule that says if it's NPP, then blue. I'll just click on this blue and click on OK. And notice that the party column now has colors attached to it wherever you see those two colors. There's also going to be a section that's known as other, but because we didn't add a rule for that, it's not going to be colored. Now the other is the minority of the data set, so we're not going to worry about that too much. Majority of the data set, majority of Ghana's election history has always been a battle between these two dominating parties, NDC and NPP, right? So we also have a look at the sum of votes here, and notice that there's no comma between the numbers. So we're going to format the votes column a little bit So I'm just going to click on votes, which is the column we selected, and I've changed the formatting to include a comma. Great, so you see that we have 75,412,000 votes. Let's add some more visuals. I want a filter that allows us to filter by year for each year. So we are going to go and click on a slicer. Sorry, I forgot to deselect the table, so let me just undo that. Click on the undo button at the top left corner of the screen. So now I just click into the canvas, then click on the slicer visual, and then select the column that I intend to visualize in it. In this instance, it's called year. So I'm going to click on year, and we note that we see the years of election from 1996 all the way to 2024. But then I want to customize it a little bit, so I'm going to click on the visualization pane, go down, and switch from vertical list to tile. Then align it horizontally. Let's move this up a little bit. Let me just move it to one side. Okay, great. So we have the visual like this. I don't want the title of the visual to show, so we are going to take that out, take our slicer header, and I want to align according to year. So 2024 is the first. So once I click on 2024, we can see our numbers changing and our table being formatted. Now I want the votes to include 2 decimal places. We can show the entire value if we want to, but in this instance I don't want to. I just want to see 2 decimal places. So I'm just going to go to value decimal places and select 2, and then there we have 6.48 and 4.73 as the final vote count as of 2024 31st December. Right, so now we are going to go into creating our first custom visual, which is the simple image. Now the simple image is a custom visual that does not form part of the main basic images or basic visualizations that can be seen in Power BI. It can be gotten from the Power BI marketplace or get more visual. Simply select the 3 ellipses button and click on get more visual, and that is going to take us to Power BI store for other visuals, where we would then search for simple image. Great, so we have a variety of images that can be used, from word cloud to text filter and so on. So I'm just going to search for simple image. Right, that's it right here. So we can either download a sample or add, and I'm just going to click on add. Once I do, it's going to be represented in this bar right below here. So import successful. So it has been successfully imported into my Power BI desktop, and I can view it at the bottom here as simple image. Now, how does simple image work? So once I click on it, notice that this bar has appeared. Now simple image deals with image URLs, that is online images. So you may need to have a column that has images in it. In this instance, I want to visualize each of the presidents for each year, each country, each election, and so we need to get the image URL for these images, and that we'll have to do by going online to Google, maybe typing the first recent president, John Mahama, who won the election, searching online for his image, let's say maybe this one. So I'm just going to click on it, and so once I right click on it, you can just scroll and look for copy image address. So what we need to do is we need to paste this in our data source, create a column and paste it in our data source for each of the presidents. So we are going to go back to our data source, which I have opened here, create a column, name it image, and let me just filter this column by John Mahama. So that for each year we have his name, and I'm just going to paste that address here, and I'm just going to drag that for all the cells where all the rows where his name appears. Great. Then I'm going to unfilter, and then I'm going to save this. I'll go back to my Power BI report, and I'm going to refresh for the changes to apply. Hopefully there will not be any errors. Great. So once I've done this, the moment we click on his name, the image is supposed to appear here. But first we have to drag the column into the add data fields for the selected visual. Great. So once I've done that, I'm just going to click on John Mahama, and his picture should appear. Great. So that's his picture right there, and we can stretch it a little bit or format it by going to style preset. Click on the image first, go to image settings, and I'm going to stretch it out through to the box for it to stretch out, and that's how it's going to look once stretched out. Right. So just as I did for the first president, I'm going to do for all other presidents that exist in the data set. So bear with me as I do that. I'm going to speed up the video a little bit as I go through that. Refresh. Right. So once it's loaded, I can now search for his name just to confirm that the update I made actually works. So I'm just going to click on 2008 and click on Jonathan Mills' name. Great. And so his picture just shows right up there. So that's what we want. So let me just finish importing all the image URLs, and I'll be right with you. Okay, great. So now I have the URLs for all the presidents except others. That's left blank. So we are going to save the data source, go back and refresh, and hopefully it applies to the visual. Now I want pictures of both presidents for both parties to show for each year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter each image by the party. So first I'm going to apply the party filter. Sorry, that's a mistake. To apply the party filters. Sorry, I have to click on the visual first and add the filter to the filters pane, and I'm going to select NDC, that's the first party name. Then I'm going to copy the image and paste it on the right hand side. And I'm going to change the party filter to MPP, right? So now we're going to click on the year to see what happens when we deselect. Great. So now the images that I've imported using the address or image URL reflect. So once I click on each of the years, the picture is changed. So you have Nanado as of 2020. He was going up against Mahama. 2016, same. 2012, same. 2008, it was Atta Mills versus Nanado. 2004, it was Kufuor versus Atta Mills, and so on and so forth. Now I want to be able to see the names of the presidents below these images. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to make use of another card visual. So let's click on that. I'm going to add the candidate name to this card visual. Then I'm going to add a party filter, and let's name this one NDC. I'm going to format this card visual a little bit, take out the label, reduce the size of the font to, let's say, 20 again, reduce the size of this, make it smaller. I don't want it to have a background image, so I'm just going to take out the background and I'm going to drag it down here. I'm just going to copy that and do same for the opposing party. Copy this. Drag that down. And I'm going to change the party to NPP. You notice that the name now shows, or the name now appears. So if I select any year, the names should change according to the names of the presidents for those years. Great, that's exactly what I wanted to achieve. Let's let this filter come down a bit. Let me just even reduce the size of the filter. Let's shift it a little bit to the right. Okay, great, we're making some progress. So I'm going to create some other visuals. In fact, I want to see which party won for each year in the middle, so that we don't have to necessarily look at the numbers to determine. Just simply by looking in the middle, we will have a winner. So I'm going to create a card for that. Let's start by creating a text box to label it winner. Let's color it green. I'm going to use the color code green. Increase the font to maybe 20, 24, make it bold, add an exclamation mark, reduce the size. Ensure that there's no background. Put it in the middle. Now I need a card, so I'm just going to select card. But in order to ensure that this works, I have to create a measure that works with the filter, such that for each year that you click on, the card shows you the winner of the elections for each year. Now, how do we do that? We are going to do that by first creating a measure called most votes. Max. So the max function is used to show the highest value for two selected columns or numerical columns. So I'm just going to select NDC and the NPP measures that we created and close that. Now, since it's been created, we are going to create another measure, which is what we actually want or what we actually need. And this measure cannot work by itself. It works building on the most votes measure we created. So let's call this the winning party equal to if, and we are making use of an if condition. If, let's say, NDC votes is equal to the most votes, then show the text NDC, or else show NPP in inverted commas. And this is the condition that we want, that if the majority of votes or the highest votes each time any aggregation, each time a filter is clicked on is equal to NDC votes, then we want to see the text NDC. If not, show us the text NPP. And for each year, these are the two main parties that were winning, so that's how come no other condition was applied. And I'm just going to click on OK, and then I'm going to add that card, add that to our card, the winning party. I'm going to select that, and we have an output, which is the winning party is NDC. So looking at the votes of NDC as against MPP for that year, yes, NDC won, and so we know that our card is working. So if I select a different year, we notice that it changes. Great. So we have MPP as the winning party. The image also changes, and we can confirm from the count of votes that it's working. Right. Great. So we are going to add more visuals to our data set to have a clearer picture of the data that is installed for our dashboard. We're going to create a votes by party bar graph, and that's how simple image works. And it's a very handy visual that, depending on the kind of dashboard you want to create, can be used, provided that you are able to get the images as an image URL. So votes by party. So I'm just going to format this card, this bar graph I've created. I'm going to take off the grid lines. I don't want to see any grid lines. The x-axis, I don't want the title to show. I'm going to take that off. And I want the colors of the bars to represent the colors of the party. So I'm going to change the colors for each bar. So NDC, I want the NDC bar to be green. So again, I'm going to use the color code. In the hex column for NDC, and for other, I'll just change it to, let's say, orange. Okay. And I want the border to be a little bit rounded. So the next thing we are going to do is to ensure that we have a title for the graphs that we have created. Right, so I'm going to add a little text box at the top of the screen to represent our title. So I'm going to name the first title Votes by Party. Always ensure your titles are simple and easily understood. Brief titles, always brief. I don't want the title to have a background, so I'm going to take off the background. And I'm going to copy that text, and I'm going to rename it for each of the cards I've created. Now that we've been able to create this dashboard, we have a clearer picture of what our data is about. This is a simple example of how images work. Let's clean up the dashboard a little bit. I'm going to add a background and add some shapes to it to make it look a bit nicer. Add a title as well. So let's start with the title. Now I want to change the background to an image. So I just select the canvas itself. Transparency to 0%. Make sure that certain images or cards are transparent as well. The dashboard is really coming together. Let's add a little bit of shadow to this slicer to pop it out a little bit. And I want to add some shapes. So let's add shape over each party. I want the corners to be rounded by, let's say, 20, and I don't want it to have any fill. I want the border to be black. Copy that, paste it onto the opposing party's visual as well. Ensure proper alignment of these two. Let me just group them. And now finally, I want to add a map that will give us an aerial view of which regions were won by each of the candidates. So we are going to do that. We are going to do that by importing from an online website known as Simple Maps. So shout out to the creators of Simple Maps for making it easy for us to get access to map visuals of any continent or any country. So I'm going to add this link to my description, the video description, so that in case you want to follow along, you can easily come to this website and download the map. For Ghana, the slash at the end has the initials for Ghana, which is GH. For my brothers in Nigeria, you just have to change it to NG, or Togo, TG, and so on and so forth. And it's just going to show you the map of the country, and all you have to do is just download. So I'm just going to go back to GH. So it shows us the map of GH, and I'm going to scroll down to download a shapefile. So this shapefile is going to include not just the map, but each division in the map. So each of the regions which have been listed out here. So all you have to do is just click on download. Once it's done downloading, we would now import it into another tool to change the format of the map so that we can import it into Power BI. I'm just going to check, realize that our download is done. But before that, let's go to Power BI, and the visualization tool we are going to use to visualize the map is called Shape Map. Now, Shape Map may not be available on your dashboard because it's sort of new. In order for you to see it, you have to click on File, go to Options and Settings. In Options, scroll down to the Preview Features, and you realize that it may be unticked. The Shape Map visual may be unticked. So you just have to tick that and click OK, and possibly restart your Power BI for it to reflect, and then you just click on it. Now, the reason we had to go and import our own shape is because there are certain countries whose maps are not available in Shape Map. So in Shape Map, we just have to add the field that we need here. So let me just add region, because that is what we actually want to visualize. And you realize that a map of USA shows up. So if I click on Map Settings, in the map type, you realize that there are a series of maps from Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, and so on. But then one of the most valuable features is custom map, which means that not only can you use a country, you can use other shapes as well, provided you're able to get it in the right format. Right, so once we are able to get our map in the right format, we're going to come back to click on custom map to import it into Power BI. So now there's another, in order to transform our map into the right visual, we are going to make use of a website known as Map Shaper. Again, I'm going to add this link to my description for each and every one of us to easily have access to it. So map shaper, what we are going to do here is we are going to drop our download, which is this zip file GH shop, into it. We are going to drop the entire zip file into map shaper. Great, so this image shows that it has been dropped. Now the zip file consists of a series of imageries or maps, so we now have to look for our country's initials. In this instance, for Ghana, the initial is GH. So when I click on this drop down, we have to go through these letters BT, BS, BR and look for GH. So I'm going to scroll down to GH. Right, and realize that it has 16 polygon features. These 16 polygon features represent the 16 divisions of the country, or 16 regions of the country. So that makes me sure that this is what I want. So once I click on it, I can have a preview of the map of Ghana. And you can even preview each of the images to ensure that it has been labeled accurately by clicking on the mouse icon and clicking on inspect features. So you can go around, highlight each of the countries, and you realize that each of them have been grouped and have been labeled. So you see the name on the top left corner of the screen: Savannah region, Upper West region, Upper East. And I noticed again that the Northern East region is not labeled correctly. So you can rename each region here by just clicking on edit, come here and renaming it well. So once you're done, you can just export the file in the format that you need. So we are going to click on export and deselect all these layers with the exception of the layer that is the initial of the map of your country. And the file format that shape map works with for import into Power BI is known as the topo.json. So you have to select the topo.json format. I repeat, topo.json format is the format that is allowed for import into Power BI for maps. So please click on that and then click on export. Once your file is exported, we can now import this file into Power BI. So I'm going to go back to Power BI, click on custom maps, add a map type, go to my downloads folder and click on GH, and we have our map showing in a blue fill on the right hand corner of the screen. So the blue is the color or the default color that has been used, but then you can change that default color. And in fact, I want to change the color of the map to represent the color of the parties in terms of the regions that won. So we'll create a DAX formula for that. But before we do, I just want to change the format, the font color, the color of the map from blue to green. I'm going to click on visual, fill color. Notice that you can change the color of the map to any color that you want. And it also has this conditional formatting button there. So for a different visual called the synapse panel, this function is not present, but with the shape map new visual that has been added to Power BI, this is present. So this is where we would apply our DAX measure to. So let's go on to create our dash measure. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to right click, so I'm going to right click on my DAX measure folder and name my new measure map color. color, and it's going to be an if function. So if NDC votes is greater than MPP votes, note that we are using the measures we've already created. Then I want to see this color code, which is the hashtag one two B31. So that's the two colors that exist. So I'm saying that give me green if NDC votes is greater, or give me blue if MPP votes is greater. And with this measure, we are going to now apply it to the map in order for it to reflect. Great. So once it's done, before we apply it, I just want to take out the background color for the map. Take out the title, go back to visual, go to the color, and now let's go to the function. Now in here, I'm going to click on the rules and select field value. And they ask you, what field should we base this on? So you're going to select the field, which is in reality a DAX measure. So I'm going to click on map color, click on OK, and it applies. So you realize that some regions have been colored blue whilst others green. So the regions that have been colored blue are the regions where the NPP party won, or the party with the blue color won, and same for NDC. So once we click on, let's say, a specific region, the entire visual is filtered. And from the table, we can see from a glance that MPP, the blue party, had 539,000 votes, whereas NDC had 514. And this is assurance that our filter actually worked. Right. So once we click on each and every single year, we can tell which regions each of these two parties won in. I'm just going to add a title to this visual, to the map, and just name it Ghana map. Or map of Ghana. Let's increase the font size. Take out the background. And drag it up here. And we are done with our dashboard. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and share. See you in the next video. Thanks guys.